Welcome to the latest episode of Theme Park Academy, brought to you in partnership with blooloop. Here we dive into the world of themed attractions, and we get this inside scoop directly from the voices that shape the industry. Today, we're really talking about all things IAAPA. We have on Max from IAAPA a little later this episode with some great insight on getting involved in the industry. And just want to start this episode out with talking a little bit about the excitement of the show, right, Mark? Because I think every year it comes up and it's sort of a mad rush for us on our side, but there's this real excitement in the air as we get ready to go to Orlando.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I used to remember when I first became a coaster enthusiast, we're talking nearly 20 years ago now. And I was so excited when I used to see the IAAPA announcements. I used to see what was new, what was happening. I used to see all the train designs that people were coming up with. But obviously, with social media getting as big as it is, and with IAAPA event being so accessible, that we're seeing a lot of video content now, and we're seeing a lot of vloggers and bloggers visiting and giving us the kind of rundown of what they've seen and the conversations that they've had. And I think what I'd kind of love to have a chat about is there was a bit of a just a bit of a friendly advice, I think, that we'll give. Where is IAAPA is a place of work, isn't it? Like it's great that we see everything. We get so excited as enthusiasts, but I think it's quite key to remember that whoever is visiting, it is a place of work. A lot of business happens there, a lot of contracts get signed there. But I think it's very, very important that we all keep that in our minds, that even if you're going as an enthusiast and you're vlogging there, please keep in mind that it is a place of business, and it's a great fun place of business, but it is still a place of business.
No, for sure. And I think it's also sort of, also address maybe how you want to represent yourself, especially for those many people who want to get into the industry. I do think, not showing up in flip flops and shorts, while that's great to be kind of business casual everywhere, IAAPA show floor is a little bit different. So I do think it's also important to remember that how you present yourself to the industry is how people will perceive you too. So if you have an Alpenguy shirt on, they may take you a little less seriously than if you've got at least a jacket on and look a little bit presentable. So there's a time and place for everything for sure. But I think it's important for younger people to remember that, like you said, Mark, they are in a business environment and to treat it appropriately.
Absolutely. I think I always say about this industry as well, it's so big, yet it is so small to some extent as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
And everybody talks to one another as well. So the best thing you can do is just represent yourself in the best way, chat with as many people as possible, network as much as possible while you're there, because we are all there for the same reason, that we love the work that we do and we love to be at IAAPA. So yeah, just keep that in mind and stay as cool as possible.
And with networking, Mark, you actually hit on my point too, because I think that IAPA can be overwhelming, right? I know even though I was in a company when I came to my first IAPA and was introduced to a bunch of people, it still felt pretty overwhelming because I was meeting people who had relationships that were older than I was, right? So that could be a little intimidating. And so the other thing I want to share with people, and I want to get your feedback too, is I think that because we do have those great online communities now, but when you break out and meet people in person at IAPA, also remember to network not only with the people who you're trying to get a job with, who've been in the industry, but also your peers. Those people maybe 3 or 5 years older and younger than you who have that passion. And I think that's a really good group for you to kind of network with and grow with as you try and get in the industry. What do you think?
No, definitely. I think it's like I said, we all go there because we love the work that we do and we love this industry, and sharing that enthusiasm with everyone that you possibly can do just goes a long way. And I do completely agree that we're all in different stages of life, and being around people who are roughly the same stage as you and roughly the same age as you, sometimes it can give you that kind of boost that you may need during that time. Like you said, it's when I went to IAPA last, it is very overwhelming, and there's a lot of stimulus going on. There's a lot of things going on. There's a lot of conversations happening, and people that you may really look up to in the industry who are stood right next to you, shoulder to shoulder. And I think having that peer group there with you who are going through the same thing as you are, it's definitely key to kind of find them and have great long relationships with them as well. I think it's there's a lot of other events that happen alongside IAPA. There's a lot of parties. There's a lot of really kind of close social gatherings that happen there as well. And it's about communicating and chatting with people, seeing where these things are happening, and trying to get with them as well. I think it's really key.
No, definitely. And I think it's fun because IAPA can be a lot, as I think in our interview with Max, you'll see, kind of coming down that escalator for the first time and being a little overwhelmed with 9 miles of show floor. But there are so many good people in this industry. And I think Mark and I just want to invite all of you who are looking to get into it or experiencing your first IAAPA to just get to know the people as much as the industry, because they are a bunch of great people from a lot of different backgrounds and a lot of people with a wealth of knowledge who are willing to help out.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm sure I'm kind of speaking for Adam here as well, but we'd love to have a chat. If we're walking around the show floor and you see us, please do grab us and have a chat with us. We'd love to see you out there as well.
Definitely. And with that, I guess let's go to Max. As I really am excited about this interview. I think Mark and I learned a lot from it. So we'll head into our interview with Max from IAAPA and learn about the ambassador program, the mentor program, and everything IAAPA offers for people attending IAAPA for the first time.
So we are joined today by a very special guest. Because it's IAAPA season, we couldn't ask for anybody better to be on the show right now than Max, who is the program manager for the IAAPA Expo education. So Max, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself, please?
Yeah, first of all, thank you guys for inviting me to come on the podcast today and talk to you all. My name is Max Glorit. I am the program manager for IAAPA Expo education. I'm originally from South Florida, so I'm a born and raised Floridian, and I never left the state. I pretty much just came up to Orlando for school because that's where the theme parks were, and said that's where I'm going to go for college, and that's where I'm going to spend my career. So spent 8.5 years in park ops over at Universal Orlando Resort, and then in May of 2022, landed myself this sweet little opportunity here with IAAPA, where now I serve as program manager, and in my role, I pretty much help coordinate everything that goes into building the education conference at IAAPA Expo. This is one of the largest event that we have for the global attractions industry. And the education conference has over 150 opportunities for people to learn, connect with one another, and hear best practices in the industry. So in my role, it's very busy all year round. As soon as one show ends, we're already thinking about the one ahead, trying to gather submissions and ideas for what goes into our education conference the following year. And then we work with our committees and our task force members to put together a really comprehensive and robust program that we think our members are really going to enjoy.
That's awesome. And I know you threw out a few numbers there, but I'm curious, kind of from a 10,000-foot view, how would you describe the Orlando Expo to somebody who's never been or never heard of it? Kind of like when you go down those escalators for the first time and see it all. How would you say that looks like?
It looks overwhelming. It looks like when you take someone who's never been to a big city into a big city, and they're kind of just staring up at skyscrapers and kind of in a daze and walking much slower behind their group, because that was 100% my first time on the show floor. Was just overwhelmed with just how much there was, and seeing all the lights, the sounds, every booth trying to pull your attention, and partly as a fan enjoying it, and then also trying to digest what it is you're actually looking at. It can be a little bit overwhelming, but it's so much fun, and you never really lose energy until the second day you're there and you start to see the same stuff a couple times over. But it is huge. It's overwhelming. I mean, the show floor itself is an amazing place full of innovation and energy and people. And even on the concourse before you get down the escalator, right, there's so many activations and brands and different things that are pulling your attention to it that it's just overall an incredible experience.
Oh, that's awesome. And for people who may be considering going for the first time, is it too late to sign up, or can they still go or sign up at the show? What's that process look like?
Yeah, anybody can still register. Registration is still open online. There is registration available in person on site, but I think it's a little bit easier to kind of plan ahead. You definitely want to do some planning before coming to this show. So hop on IAAPA.org, take a look at the agenda, take a look at where we're going to be at the convention center, the different hotels that are nearby. Rooms are almost all gone, but there's still a few out there, and I'm sure you can book a hotel room if you need to spend a night in Orlando. And anyone can still register.
Awesome. And, for those, we do have a lot of listeners who are looking to get in the industry or considering a job in it. And wanted to ask, for those kids who are going for the first time, I say kids as an old guy now, but it's really, those kind of 18 to 22-year-olds who are looking to get in the industry and want to get something out of going to IAAPA. What would you recommend that they do when they're at the show? How do you approach something like that is so overwhelming?
Yeah, that's a good question. And it's an age-old question, I think, because when I was a student in school, I had heard of IAAPA, and I was looking to get involved when I got into my early leadership roles at Universal. And it's hard to kind of decide where you should be, right? Because the show floor is a place of business. People are negotiating contracts, and they're talking big picture, high level things. And for someone who came out of a large park that operates year round, I wasn't necessarily empowered to make decisions in terms of buying power or what do I want to take away from this. So for me, it was a lot of, again, pre-planning and saying, what's my goal of going? What do I want to really get out of it? Is it education? Maybe, right? I'm trying to become a better leader myself, better understand our industry from a higher level, be exposed to more things than maybe what my job role entails. So positioning myself in a few education sessions that maybe touch on marketing or human resources, or maybe even food and beverage, department I never actually worked in myself, I think is important to be able to broaden your horizons and digest some maybe new information, and maybe find where different departments are similar but have different functions, and how you can work better together as an operator or even as a manufacturer, right? Understanding the process behind the creative design of a newsletter, of a marketing piece, of an attraction, how you build that thing from beginning to implementation, and being able to leverage some of your expertise as well. I think it's important for students to have a passion for what they want to do, not just aimlessly wander around. I think our industry is in love with passionate people. If you come forward and say, hey, this is something I really care about, and you can tell that story, right, and be a good storyteller, people will want to listen to you, and they'll want to help you, and they'll want to guide you towards where you best fit in. So, I think my first time coming to IAAPA, what amazed me the most was just how many different companies are really involved. And I'm not just talking about the coaster companies but like the arcade games and the scenic designers and the people who do stanchion poles, right? All these people who are there, and you realize like that's a whole business. There's a whole career path here that I never even knew existed prior. You just kind of assume maybe some things are just already there, and you don't realize that no, somebody actually has to put the work in to bring these things to life too. And so having a plan of like what you're interested in seeing is helpful. If you're one of those people who's big on safety, go look at safety sessions. Go find out, if ASTM, NARSO, if anyone's around that you can talk to and get some insights from. If you're just interested in seeing, just go sightsee. That's perfectly okay too. Take it all in, just enjoy and be exposed to it. I don't think you necessarily have to have a set mission when you come to Expo. Like if you're coming to Expo and your mission is like, I'm getting a job, you may have a more difficult experience than some others, because not everyone's actively hiring at that time. And it might not serve you well to just throw resumes all over the Expo and try to shake hands with all 40,000 people and say, hey, will you hire me? But if you make one genuine connection with someone coming out of a session, or if you get to one exhibit booth that you're just absolutely fascinated with, and you kind of really spend some time with one of the exhibitors, learning about their product, learning about maybe their career path, how they started, how they got to where they're going, I think that will lend its hand to being a really much more enjoyable experience and a strong connection that you can look back on and kind of use to guide your future career decisions and guide your future projects you might find yourself working on.
I think that's such a good point. I really like how you're approaching kind of really, asking people who are visiting to sort of understand what their goals are and taking different steps. Because I think sometimes people, especially younger people trying to get into the industry, overthink it a little bit. They think I got to see everything, when it can be a really focused approach. And I think that is one nice thing about the IAAPA website and the app too, is you can really spend some time and dial in whether it's what your interests are, what you think your aptitude is. I think there are a lot of options there. So that's really good.
We've put a lot of effort into what we call tracks, which are kind of segmenting parts of our industry in terms of the education conference. So we have our constituency committees here at IAAPA: amusement parks and attractions, water parks, family entertainment centers, zoos and aquariums, and museums and science centers. But we also then have the kind of functions or areas of practice, if you will, within the industry, like food and beverage experts, human resources, marketing, those type of things, facility operations. And we try to build out these tracks where if you are an operator, if you are in marketing, if you're a young professional even, that we have a track that kind of will guide you from Monday through Thursday of here's all the sessions you should see that will help you, or here's all the sessions that we think will benefit you where you are in your current career path. And so it's designed to help. And even the show floor is designed to help, right? If you're an F&B person, we have an F&B pavilion. If you are an inflatables person, we have an inflatable section. It's kind of divided in a way where you can make the most efficient use of your time. So that way you can, again, gain the most from your time with the Expo? Seeing it all is a big goal and a big task, but not always the most successful plan.
Totally agreed. And what are, you mentioned some of the sessions. Are there any kind of keynote sessions coming up for this week that stand out to you that you want to recommend people hit?
Oh man, there's so many. With over 150, you really can't go wrong. And I say that not just because I don't want to pick one, but more so when you can step back and look at how we build our education conference. This is all members sharing with members, and that's been at the core of IAAPA since it was founded over 100 years ago, is members' willingness to share. And so no matter what session you walk into, whether it's a finance and information session or if it's the Legends panel that everyone's very familiar with, if you go in with an open mind and an interest to learn, you're going to walk out with something of value. And so that's always something that will never change with our show. And that if you come in with that right mindset and the ability to broaden your horizons, hear something new, and figure out, how does this apply to me? How do I take this information, bring it home, share it with my team, or use it to influence a decision that I have to make in the job? Then I think you'll succeed. But if there's one session that I think is going to be the most exciting, that I am the most excited to hear from, we do have the president of the Fan First Experience Club, Jared Orton from the Savannah Bananas, joining us this year as one of our signature sessions, and I'm very excited for that one.
Yeah, that one was pretty awesome.
You kind of mentioned it then as well regarding the sharing of information and having that fluidity there, where people like to kind of talk about a lot of, let's call them trade secrets for now. But is there any sort of behind the scenes opportunities at the IAAPA event?
Yeah, we have a couple of them. We have our Edutour program, which allows us to take some attendees off-site to some local attractions here in Central Florida for some really cool behind-the-scenes experiences, where we hear from the operators themselves firsthand and the people who put those real attractions together of what goes into it. So this year we have a really exciting Edutour lineup. I'm going to just highlight a few of them. We have Behind the Screams of Halloween Horror Nights, which at Universal, which if you don't know that event, it's probably one of the best Halloween events in the country. And we're going to get to see a little bit of what it goes into putting on that big scary event that just wrapped up a little while ago. We're also doing a really cool behind the scenes with the Nemo show at Disney's Animal Kingdom with Disney Live Entertainment. Last year, they did a phenomenal tour for us over at Fantasmic. When I say they were transparent, they were very transparent, and it was so appreciated by attendees and everyone who got to go on that tour that I'm really excited to see what they share with us this year down in Nemo. And we're also going to go take a really cool trip down to Legoland. We haven't been there in a few years, but we're really excited to go back and see all the new things that Legoland Florida has put together, and even get a little bit of a potential sneak preview of some new things that are coming up in that park. So we have really good behind the scenes tour programs that we're excited about as well.
Sounds very exciting indeed. So can you tell us a little bit more about the IAAPA Ambassador program that you run as well, just for any of our listeners that might be interested in getting involved?
Yeah, so the Ambassador program is actually a really special program to us. It is a really unique opportunity for students and young professionals to volunteer their time at the Expo, and the benefits of which are, there's too many to even list off. But really what the Ambassador program is we have an open call for any student, young professional, anyone looking to get in the industry who's willing to volunteer and help us at the Expo. Consider it a very seasonal frontline role, if you will, of IAAPA Expo, in which ambassadors may be doing things like scanning badges into edu sessions, facilitating those tours, kind of keeping the group together. They might be working with our sponsorship team to help make sure some of the fulfillment is activated on site, working with press and media to guide media outlets around the show floor, and a variety of other tasks. At a Will's notice, we'll ask, can you guys help us? And they'll say yes, and they'll jump into action and assist with many, many different tasks around the Expo. But they bring themselves here, and then we cover their housing, we cover their meals, and they just help us out for the entire week up and down the show floor. They build some really, really special bonds. I'm a former show ambassador. I was fortunate enough to serve in the program in 2021 at the Expo here in Orlando, and it was a game changer for me. It was really what I think set me up to ultimately land in this role with IAAPA, because I met so many people on the IAAPA staff. So many of the speakers who I got to talk to ended up being people who serve on IAAPA committees or the board of directors, and having those connections and just being able to be myself, surrounded by people who are like me, who love this industry, who just want to find their way and share and collaborate with one another, I think really was just something so special that I sometimes struggle to put into words, because it just meant that much to me. That 1 week to be with that group of 35 people completely changed my life. Shortly after the program ended, I had just changed roles. I was going through a little bit of a rough patch. We were also, I was about to get married to my wife. And so the ambassadors were always there for any bad day, any text, any meme. We could share memes with each other and have a good laugh. And without me knowing it, they even contributed a pot of stuff and sent a bunch of gifts as wedding gifts that I was completely not expecting. I had just met these people in November, and in February I was getting married and getting shipments from them of all these nice things. And then when we announced that we were having our first son, they sent even more. And I couldn't even think of who are these people and why would they be so nice to me? I'm just me. I don't understand why. And so the family really that I gained from the program has just completely changed my way of life. And I love all of them so much, and they know this. And we track where each other are at. Some of them were with Disney Imagineering or with Universal Creative. They've got really impressive marketing roles and operations roles with Six Flags and Cedar Fair and that whole group. So they're just all over the place, and they're an amazing group of people. And I'm proud to say that this year, our ambassadors are so valuable to the show that we've actually added more of them. We have 44 show ambassadors who will be helping us at IAAPA Expo this year for its 23rd iteration of the program, which is just super exciting. They do so much for us that we keep finding ways to get them involved, spend more time with them, and we've expanded it. They didn't always exist, but I think the first show ambassador program for our show happened in 2000. Some IAAPA staff members went to a conference in 1999 at a university, and they saw student volunteers helping, and they said, hey, that's a really good idea. And so in 2000 in Atlanta, they instituted the first show ambassador program. And then in 2011, we expanded it to include IAAPA Expo Asia. And then in 2014, it expanded to include Expo Europe. And so this past year, actually in Amsterdam, was the 10th anniversary of the ambassador program for Europe. So that was a big celebration for them out there. And they around the world, they're a collective bunch who just collaborate and share together. They're all passionate about the industry, and they help others thrive. And that's at the essence of what IAAPA is. It's about those connections, and the ambassador program is no better example of it.
That sounds incredible. I love the fact you're like a miniature family, or rather quite a large family, I suppose. And I love the thought of you sharing information between each other and collaborating where you can, and actually sharing that enthusiasm for the industry. And I know, Adam, you and I, everyone that we've had on so far of the show, their passion just resonates through with what they're saying for this industry. And Max, you're no exception to the tale as well. It's so obvious how much you love this industry, and it's infectious to be around people like that. And I think that is a great pull, like we've said, to get some people interested in the ambassador program. Just the fact that you are around so many like-minded people who want to share that enthusiasm as well. Can you tell us about some of the different experiences that they may have when they're doing this ambassador program with you?
Yeah. So, as I mentioned, a lot of it happens on site at the convention center. It's a lot of, answering attendee questions, giving directions, facilitating with setup of materials on tables, things like that. But outside of kind of the day-to-day responsibilities, the experience involves, they actually come in on Friday before the show, and they do a little networking mixer together at their housing location. And from that point forward, you really just jump right into getting to know these people and bonding in a way that's like a mix between summer camp and like a professional workshop environment. It's this weird balance of like, we're friends, but like, we're also professionals. Like it's the weirdest thing how quickly you just ramp right into just camaraderie. But they do a lot of great things. On the first night, they go over to Give Kids the World Village in Kissimmee, and they do some volunteering for the village, which is an amazing, impactful experience. If any listener is not familiar with the Give Kids the World Village, please look it up. If you are local to the States or in Florida, or if you have any time to volunteer to that organization, please do it. It is absolutely an amazing opportunity to do. And then from there, we do some training for them on site. So the weekend prior, Saturday and Sunday, we'll do training for what they actually have to do for IAAPA and for their roles. And we mix that in with some really cool opportunities with our human resources task forces, where those volunteers will come and provide them some professional development opportunities. Think of them as education sessions, but targeted towards that group. So that way they have some skills that they can take back home with them as well. And then throughout the week, they're executing their roles and meeting with former ambassadors, new ambassadors. They're advocating on behalf of the industry, and they're really just working together to put on a phenomenal show throughout the week and participating in a handful of different events, the different receptions they get to go to and mingle amongst the industry leaders and find out what the latest is. So they'll get to be literally everywhere and nowhere all over Orlando at the same time.
No, that sounds amazing. And what kind of interest do you think that you can see at the moment from younger people wanting to get into the industry? So how are you seeing a lot of people are coming straight for the ambassador program, or are you, like you mentioned before, people coming searching their way around the show? What kind of interest do you think that you see at the moment from people coming through?
Well, I think, most people who when they try to come to our industry, I think a lot of people have the dream of being a Disney Imagineer, or like that creative person who's going to say, hey, here's the ride we should build and the story we should tell around it and how I think we should do it. But I think what happens is after you come through the program, you kind of spend some time on the show floor or meeting with attendees, you realize that there's so much more to discover. And then I think really what people come out of it with is this sense of discovery of what all is out there. I think job titles are probably the most chaotic, misleading thing we have right now. There's so many different titles out there in the world that it's hard to know exactly what they mean and for what at each different company and organization, that really getting to know the individual and know the person and kind of what they do and understand like their role and how that plays into something bigger or larger of a project, of a park operation is key to unlocking. And the program does a great job of giving the ambassadors that opportunity and that time to talk amongst themselves about what they do, but also with the attendees to understand, here's the universe that you're exposed to. Here's everything that's out there all in one place. Go discover something, go find something new. And so I think people come in with that dream of that Imagineering role or that creative thing, and they walk out with going, well, maybe there's something over here I can look into. Maybe there's this branch over here, or these other companies that I haven't thought of yet that I could dive into from a training and development side, right? Maybe it's a marketing side, a way to find one of their personal interests. Maybe some of them love drawing or creative stuff, but they don't know about marketing roles and the different ways that digital platforms and marketing can be integrated in what they do. Or there's a computer programmer out there who loves playing online games. They don't understand how a lot of our industry needs help with their websites and with their technology piece, and some of what they do in their coding world can translate to what they're doing here. And so finding those people, bringing them in, opening their eyes to everything and saying like, hey, go discover a path is probably one of the biggest things that they could do there.
Excellent. Do you want to tell us a little bit and tell our readers how to get involved with the ambassador program? So when do people usually apply for it, and when does that usually take place, and how do they apply for it? Because I think it's such a great option to be able to give people that platform as well to do that. It's fantastic.
Yeah. So each expo show timeline is a little bit different, but for ours here in Orlando, I believe we've opened applications in the spring for the show ambassador program, and then they close near the end of summer, or our summer, which is about August. We do some interviews, and then the ambassador coordinator will help start to interview potential candidates and then pick out a team based on the need and the numbers that we have for the year. I will say it's highly competitive to get into the ambassador program. As I mentioned, we only have 44 who are here this year, and that's an increase from previous years. The other regional shows are a little bit smaller because of the scale of how big that show actually is. So it's highly competitive. It's difficult to get into, but that's really the process. Is just kind of on our website. We have a link that kind of talks to you a little bit more about the logistics of the program. The application will go live up there, and then if you're one of the lucky few who gets to interview and then participate, kudos to you, because that says you really stand out. You're really dedicated and shown your passion, and gotten some really good letters of recommendation and behind you to say, hey, this person should be at the expo and should be exposed to our industry. But even if you don't make the ambassador program, that's not the end of your journey. I think people sometimes think, oh, the only way to participate with IAAPA is through that. Well, there's more ways. We also have a mentorship program that we do that's all year round. So right now the application is, I believe, open for mentees and mentors, which could be anyone. It could be an industry veteran, or it could be a student young professional just trying to find their way and kind of discover what's out there. And so what IAAPA will do is take both sides of that, and we'll try to start pairing people up, and you'll get assigned to a random person that from anywhere in the world with another IAAPA member to spend an entire year just talking to each other very casually, whether it's over Zoom, in person, really whatever works for you. That's the beauty of the mentorship program, is it's you make it what you want it to be. And so I like to point a lot of people towards that, as well as just showing up. I think if you just show up to IAAPA events, we have them all year round around the globe. If you're able to pop into even just a meetup. My first IAAPA event actually was a meetup. It was the IAAPA meetup in Orlando at the Blake Shelton restaurant, All Red, in 2020. So it was the first kind of post-lockdown event, if you will. And I remember getting to meet some really cool people like Mara Rodriguez from Mobaro. She's on our water park committee. I think I met Michael Shelton at that event for the very first time. And from these smaller events, you may actually walk out with some more genuine connections and a better grasp on certain things versus the expo, where you have 40,000 people passing by you up and down the halls, and it's a little bit overwhelming. You're shaking hands and passing out business cards with literally everybody. And then you go home the next week and you're like, who did I talk to? What was that one guy from that one place? Oh man, and you start to feel really bad. But from the meetups, you get to have it's a slower pace. It's more intimate. You really get a good chance to meet people. So I would say, ambassador program, yes, you should apply for it. If you have the ability to travel to one of the shows and volunteer, do it. If you don't get into that program, it's not the end of the road. There's other ways you can be involved with IAAPA and other ways you can have just as meaningful of an experience.
Excellent, thank you. And the mentorship program, there's information on the IAAPA website to go and collect that information from there?
Yep, it's up there as well.
Awesome.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much, Max, and thank you so much for your insight and your enthusiasm for IAAPA as well. I think both Adam and I have said we're so excited about the show this year. It feels like it's got a great energy behind it. So we're very excited to come there, and definitely have to catch up when we're out in Orlando too.
Yeah, please come stop by. I'll be floating around the South Concourse somewhere, running from one education room to the next, helping out with everything going on there. But you'll see our show ambassadors. They'll be in those gray polos that look like this with the IAAPA thing. It'll say show ambassador on the back, real big and fancy. And they're phenomenal people. If anyone's out there and wants to hear from some really passionate young people, just spend 5 minutes talking to a show ambassador, and you'll be amazed by the potential talent that's coming into our industry.
Awesome.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Look forward to seeing you.
We'll see you down here.
Welcome to our Fast Pass round, and we're going to kick it off with our first question. Max, what is your favorite amusement park or theme park?
My favorite theme park always has been Epcot at Walt Disney World Resort in Florida. Like I said, I grew up coming to these parks, whether it was Disney or Universal, all the time, and Epcot just always gave me that comfortable optimism of the future and what could be. And I always found myself loving every minute and just being in amazement and wonder every time walking around that entire park.
A non-traditional answer. I love that. Yeah. Epcot's a really cool property.
It's excellent.
I love what they did with it.
Somebody said Epcot.
Yeah, I love what they did with it too. Like, a lot of people are kind of sometimes critical of the overlays and the redos of traditional things, but there's still that essence of wonder. I mean, anytime you look up at Spaceship Earth, how could you not want to take a picture of it and just be in amazement and awe that this giant thing exists, right? And it's just beautiful from all over the park, everywhere you see it, all the building structures and the unique shapes. It's got a little bit of that old with a little bit of that new, and it's just always perfect for me.
I do like Epcot. I'm a fan of it also. So what is your favorite attraction at a theme park?
Oh man, this is the hardest question ever, because I always categorize everything and say, well, my favorite this is that, my favorite dark ride is that. But all right, we spent a lot of time talking about the ambassador program, and if I don't give this answer, and any show ambassadors I work with hear this, they would yell at me and tell me I was lying to you. So therefore, my favorite attraction is Living with the Land boat ride at the Land Pavilion at Epcot. It is, in my opinion, the single greatest attraction for education and entertainment and sustainability. I mean, people still get excited about watching lettuce grow because it smells at Epcot in the purple and green, the way that they do it. And I mean, the kids excited to fish. It's also the first attraction I did take my son on. No lie there. Everything about Living with the Land, I always enjoy doing it. It's a must do on every single visit. So I'm going to say Living with the Land.
Nice. Another dark horse. I like it. Yeah. I haven't been on that attraction in 30 years at this point, maybe. So it's been a long time.
You got to go back.
I need to revisit.
You got to go back, especially now during the holidays. They do this awesome holiday overlay with like Christmas lights on the vegetation. It's just another level of beauty to an already beautiful attraction.
Very cool. And last question for you, looking to the future, our industry is based around trends and technology and kind of doing the next big thing. What's a key trend that you see coming into our industry over the next 5 years?
Next 5 years, wow. I think we're gonna end up seeing a lot of AI technology. I think it's going to be in a couple different places, though. It might be from not so much from a creative side as much as I think maybe from a guest experience side, in terms of predicting, where this guest is maybe going to go in the park, how they can plan their day, maybe some itineraries, maybe expediting the process of getting people in and out of parking lots or entry areas, or moving people in a way around the park to help balance common issues like wait times. Perhaps where everyone goes to one attraction and it's a 2-hour wait and everything else is at 10. I think maybe that's something in there, but I also think sustainability is really going to take off soon in the industry, and not just from the environmental standpoint, which most people are familiar with, but when you think of the other parts of ESG with societal and the governance side, I think the way attractions and operators and manufacturers manage their people is about to shapeshift. I think we're going through a new generation shift where what the hourly worker is looking for and how they stay engaged with the attractions and with what they do is so important and so critical to understand. And the days of the pizza party celebration might be coming to an end. It's going to be a little bit more than that. It's going to be a little bit more about investing people into the idea of you are truly a part of this and making them feel excuse me, like they are a part of this thing. I think of when I grew up, the thing about the draw of wanting to go to work for the big park was being able to say, oh, I worked for Disney, I worked for Universal. That kind of brand name recognition is still important and still out there. But I think so much more than that, for me, it was, I'm not just a part of Universal, I'm a part of the Despicable Me franchise, right? I'm a lab assistant at Gru's house helping train minions. Like that next level immersion, if you will, for the employee, I think is so important because that will only translate further to more immersion for the guest. When the employees have a good time, the guests have a good time. And so I think how we look at that and how that evolves is what's also coming in the next couple of years.
Great answer. I love that. Excellent. Well, Max, thank you so much for joining us today. For anyone interested, definitely jump on the IAAPA website. You can find out about the mentor program, about the ambassador program, and really everything IAAPA. So thanks again for your time today. And we look forward to seeing you in Orlando next week.
I'm looking forward to welcoming all of you to Orlando next week. If you're traveling, please travel safe. We'll see you at the convention center. Bring some comfortable walking shoes and a bottle of water because it's still hot in Florida.